Hi guys, Dr. Camilla Williams here with Living Well. Today I want to talk about why being clear on your values is one of the most important things you can do to succeed in the goals that you set for yourself. And so many of us at the start of the new year have a lot of goals, things that we want to work on and achieve for the new year. But if you're not clear on your values and if your goals don't align with those values, you're going to have a hard time following through. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of New Year's resolutions usually fall through by the end of the month. And so, what do I mean by values? Okay, there are lists and lists and lists on the internet. If you were to just Google, I recommend values card sort. That term will give you a really good list of an exercise that we use a lot in acceptance and commitment therapy. And it gives you lots of words of values like honesty, freedom, adventure, travel, friends, family, tradition, all kinds of words. And so it gives you lots of ideas and it has you sort through them so you start to rank order them in the ones that mean the most to you. Now, as you kind of think through and reflect on your values, I want you to also reflect on where did these values come from. So I actually recommend this as a journal exercise, right? You just take out a sheet of paper and you make 3 columns. And on the first column, I want you to write down all the values that you learned from your parents, right? From your mom and dad. They might be a little bit different. One parent might teach you more than the other. Or perhaps you had a grandparent or an aunt, someone who was big in your family who helped raise you. So, what were the values that you learned from them? Then in the second column, I want you to put the values that you learned from a mentor. Now, this can be, a boss or a colleague at work. It can be a teacher that you really admired or looked up to. For some of you, it might even be a specific group. So maybe you were part of a fraternity or a sorority, or you joined the military, right? What were those values that you learned as being a part of that group? And then in the third column, you put the values that you learned from your culture. So this is the environment, the society that you kind of grew up in. What did they value? What did you pick up on? And this exercise does take a while, but it's a really good way for you to reflect on where did my values come from and to choose, do I still want this value? And so I had a client once who noticed, right, that they really valued responsibility, being responsible, dependable, taking care of things, getting things done. And she realized that she got that from her mother. Like her mother really ingrained that in her. And in reflecting on it, she realized that that value was responsible for this pattern of people pleasing, where she was always doing everything for everyone else, making sure that everybody else was taken care of and happy, unfortunately at her own expense, right? She was sacrificing her own well-being and it was burning her out and she was actually getting very sick. And so we had to step back and pick and choose which parts of those values she wanted to hold on to for herself and then redefine it for her. So that's the other part, right? Once you kind of have a good short list of your values, you have to redefine it. I had another client who put down integrity, and I was like, what does that mean? Like, no, I value integrity. I'm like, oh, I get it, but what does that word mean to you? How does it show up in your day to day? Like, how do you use integrity? And he shared with me integrity for me is someone who's honest, who has a solid moral compass, and who shows up in a genuine and authentic way. And I'm like, that's a good value to have. How are you showing up with integrity in your day to day? And he kind of had that moment of like, I feel like I do a pretty good job of sticking to my value. But when we reflected on a lot of the stress that he was having at work, this is where we kind of found out that a lot of the stress was stemming from this feeling that he wasn't living up to this value of integrity. And he shared that in the beginning of his career, he would really stand up for what he thought was right. Now, there wasn't anything wrong per se going on at work, but it was things like speaking up with redundant procedures, right? Speaking up for policies that are more effective and efficient, right? Fighting to get things done the proper way. And the longer and longer he had been at the company, the less and less he would speak up. And it was a sense of, this is such a big institution, it's such a big system, it's so hard to change. What's the point? Nothing's going to get done anyways. And so that was introducing a little bit of hopelessness and helplessness into his life, which was in direct contrast to his value of having integrity and being this moral compass and genuine and authentic. And so there's a lot of layers to that story, because then we had to work on, you have to pick your battles. Where do you want to put your time and energy? But he was able to see how one little area of his life wasn't aligned with his values, and it was creating a lot more stress for him. Another common example with values is weight loss, right? I always ask my clients, well, why do you want to lose weight? It's like, well, I want to look good. Why? Well, because I'll feel good and I'll feel more confident, and I keep going for the why. Tell me more. What's really like, well, I want to be healthy. I'm like, well, what does that mean to you? You want to eat kale every day for lunch? And so when a lot of my clients, when they dive really deep on the losing weight, there is a sense of, I need to learn to value my body, value my sense of worth, feel good in my own skin. And there's a lot of these thoughts that will sabotage weight loss efforts when their values of, I genuinely care about my body and how I take care of it, isn't aligned with the weight loss goal. So there's lots of different ways that you can do this values exercise. But as you're setting your New Year's resolution, I encourage you to go through your list of goals and ask yourself, what value does this align with? Is it my value? Is it my parents, my culture, my fraternity, my work? Is it what they value? And do I want to keep this value for myself? I would love to hear from you guys in the comments below. Let me know, what do you value and how are you able to redefine that in a way that makes more sense? Like the integrity example, right? What does that mean to you? How does that show up in your day-to-day life? I'd love to hear your examples below. And please follow me on Instagram and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.